Well, welcome to the Positive Deposit Podcast, where we transform minds to change lives. I am your proud host, Presley Nelson Jr., two-time cancer survivor, and I got a real special guest with me today. Not only is he my brother in Christ, but he was my teammate in 2016 when we took that W. We definitely took that W, and he's an amazing individual. He's a conqueror, he's a survivor, a good friend. And so none other than Mr. Scott, aka Thumper Odom, in the building. So hey Scott, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump right into this candid, courageous conversation.
Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. Like I told you before, I think it's really cool you're doing this. So just an honor to be a part of this. Yeah, just a little bit about me. I grew up an athlete as a kid. I played all sports. So sports that's all I knew really was sports. So I knew I wanted to be a professional athlete. Around 10, I started having knee pains really bad in my right knee. Didn't really think anything about it. I just kind of played through it, and then took me to the family doctors, and basically, you're too active of a kid and growing pain. So I was like, cool, I can go back doing what I do. So that went on for about 4 years, just knee pain, going to the doctor, pulled ligaments or growing pains, just to be expected, basically is what I was getting out of it. So but when I was about 14, my knee started to swell. I started to have swelling in my knee. And so I didn't think anything about it. I just thought it came with sports. You get injured, you have bumps and bruises. It's just to be expected. So I didn't think anything. And like my drive, my passion was, all right, I need to get to high school. I need to get that letter jacket. The Letterman jacket was like everything to me. So I was like, I got to get me one of those. So.
And what? I'm gonna bring you slow down some. What sports were you playing? Like, what was your thing in high school?
The main one was actually baseball. Baseball was actually the sport I was really the best at. I was always in all-stars. And so besides that, I would play football, but I was too skinny, too small for football. I just did it because my friends were doing it basically. And then I played basketball. I didn't really play basketball until middle school. But I would play all the time at my house. And then in our neighborhood, we would always play, but I just didn't have the confidence to like play on a team.
I don't believe you, man. The way you were playing, I can't believe. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But when I grew up, I was the only white kid in my neighborhood. So I played with that's how I was kind of cool with everybody. So I played all sports. So I was the cool white kid. But like basketball, I really liked, but I just knew I wasn't that good, as the other kids in my neighborhood. So to me, I was just like, what's the point? I'm just not going to play. So, but in middle school, you start taking sports a little more seriously because you want to stay in shape to get ready for high school. So that's why I picked up basketball. And it was kind of a funny story, because I just don't think I'm that good. And so I remember when we were doing tryouts, 7th grade tryouts, and my dad, we had practice early in the morning. And so we'd get to the school like 6:30, 6:20, something crazy. And my dad would always give me lunch money because I would just pay for cash for lunch.
Right.
And I remember the day we were in practice, my dad left, and then like 15 minutes later, I see him walking in the gym. He goes over to my coach and he's handing him my lunch money because I knew I forgot it. So I just thought I was gonna have no lunch today, but I saw him, I was like, all right, cool, I got my lunch money. Right. Well, that day was the day that the teams were listed of like who made the A team, who made the B team, who made the C team. Well, I made the A team, which I was shocked to me. But everybody's like, man, there's no way a white boy can make the A team. Like your dad paid the coach. So I was like,
right.
I was like, no. But they were just giving me a hard time. But so yeah, I made the A team, which was a shock. And then I actually asked to get moved down to the B team just because I was on the A team, but I wasn't playing. I knew I would play more in the B team. So the coach moved me down, and I had a lot of fun playing. But right before high school, my knee got really bad. I couldn't run full speed. It was hurting. And so we actually moved in 8th grade. We moved to another town. It was about 20 minutes south, called Joshua. And so it was a big change for me. But the knee got so bad that I played 1 year in middle school and I was scoring touchdowns. I was hitting threes. I was like at the peak of my athletic on every sport I was playing. So I was really excited about high school because I knew I was going to kind of show what I could do.
Right.
So right before high school starts, they do 2-a-days for freshman football because football is the first sport that starts. Well, the pain got so bad, swelling got so bad. Like I was falling, my knee was buckling and I was falling. I couldn't, and I'd get up, run again, it'd buckle again. So I went over to the trainer and I was like, it's killing me. Like I finally had tears in my eyes. I was like, it just hurts so bad. I don't know what it is. And he thought I had a bunch of fluid built up around my knee that maybe I just needed to have it drained. So they sent me to the team doctor, which was at a hospital. First time anybody took an x-ray of my knee, the whole 4 years, my knee hurt. And he said he saw a cloud around my knee he really didn't like. And he's like, we need to have an MRI done. So I had an MRI done. But at this time, I'm like, all right, I really messed up my knee because I've been playing on it this whole time.
Yeah,
my knee's been hurting. So I just thought, all right, I finally tore something or I finally did something to damage it. I'll have surgery, I'll milk it, and I'll be back, in a few months playing. Well, 2 days later, the MRI results come back, and it's actually the first day of high school. My mom pulls me out like second period, and we go to the doctor to get the results, and flat out tells me that I have bone cancer or osteosarcoma, and we're like, what is that?
Wow. So
we were like, what's?
When you hear that you have bone cancer, sarcoma, what was like going through your mind? What was the reaction?
Yeah, when she said you have osteosarcoma, or she said I'm 100% you have osteosarcoma, me and my mom looked at each other and we're like, well, what is that? Like, we didn't know what it was. Yeah. And then she's like, it's bone cancer. And then part of me was like, no, this can't be real. Because I was at a doctor a month ago and he told me I'm fine, I'm good. Like this. So, but I actually asked the doctor to leave the room. I'm sorry. I asked my mom to leave the room because I wanted to ask the doctor a personal question.
Absolutely.
So when my mom left the room, I asked the doctor, I was like, so is this like a bad cancer or is this a cancer that's no big deal? Like, what's the worst that could happen with this cancer?
Yeah.
And then she says, if we don't do anything, it's been in your knee for at least 2 years. So if we don't do anything within a year, it's going to spread all over your body and you won't make it. You'll die within a year. And that's when it hit
was
me.
In your body it's been in for 2 years?
At least 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
At least 2 years.
Wow.
So when she told me that, then that's when I finally just like, you know the experience. It's just, you're just like, man, this is crazy. Like how this happened. And then like everything around me, I just remember going blurry. Yeah. Everything was just very blurry. And I just kind of felt like people were talking, but I couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, I'm going to die. And I thought I was going to die like the next day, or I was just after that, a big fearful state of death, of dying for sure.
So after you came out that room, everything's a blur. You're still trying to process this. What was that conversation with your mom after, once you reunited with her? After you told her, hey, let me just take care of this, and now, how was that conversation?
Yeah, I think she knew. Like me and my mom, we're real close. So when she can look at me and I can look at her, and we can already know.
Yeah,
like,
you already knew.
Up, so.
Intertwined.
So really no words are really spoken. Once the doctor kind of says, this is it. And if you don't go to the hospital tomorrow and do a biopsy and then get this port put in and start chemo within a week, like it's going to be bad. And so we knew it was serious. And so I think you just don't really know what to say. So I just remember going home, and then I remember family coming over, but everybody was coming up to me, but it was just a blur. Like I just remember like figures coming up to me, but I couldn't tell you what people said. It was just like I couldn't hear anything. It was crazy.
So you had to immediately go into to treatment, like chemo?
Yeah, so they did a biopsy just to confirm it, which it was cancer. And then I had 2 ports put in my chest, on the right side. And
why they have to put 2?
So the reason they told me they put 2 in was because I was going to get a lot of chemo. And so instead of like you're always using the one port over and over to give it a break, they would use the other port. So I was taking a lot of chemo, and like some of the hardest chemo from what they told me. So I know some of the names, but it's been so long ago, I don't remember.
Right. Did they give you R-CHOP? Does R-CHOP sound familiar? No?
It does.
There's so many. There's just so many.
Yeah.
Dang, I couldn't even imagine having 2 ports. I mean, like just having one, but that's that much chemo. So you had to get all this treatment. What were some of the side effects of having all this chemo inside of you?
Yeah, it's funny because the first day that I was on chemo, they were telling me, you may get sick or
Yeah,
you may feel nauseous. So I was like, all right. And then just stuff you see on TV, like somebody
yeah,
really sick and dead. But I remember like I started early or late morning, and then I was hungry. So I ate a big lunch, which was a
yeah.
mistake, but I ate a big lunch and then I was feeling fine. Like I went to this
Okay.
kid's room and was playing game or
Yeah,
the games that they had at the time. And I was walking around the hospital because I was bored.
yeah.
And then, man, just all of a sudden, it just hit like late at night. I just got super sick, and I
Wow.
threw up. I think I threw up like at least 4 or 5 times that night, hyperventilating because it was like freaking me out. Like, what's
Yeah,
happening? And then from that day on, like I was just sick all the time, like throwing up almost every day. Didn't want to eat, all my senses. So I eventually had to put a sign on my door anytime I was in the hospital, like don't bring the food tray in because that just set me off. Like I would get
yeah.
sick automatically. So smells were real. I was real sensitive to smells. So
You're
people,
right,
if you had
right.
like cologne or perfume, like don't be around me because I'm gonna get sick. So it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So cologne scents just threw you off.
Yeah, for sure.
See, I didn't even. I think for me, going through the aggressive arch chopped, no, I lost a lot of everything, hair, things of that
Yeah,
nature.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
um, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is crazy. But for some apparent reason, my taste buds were off, but mentally I could always like still know what food tastes like. And I was big on like Jamaican food. So I was always like, well, I remember what it tastes like, but I'm gonna just keep eating it.
Right.
So I want to just kind of jump to it. When did you have to um, being that you're young in high school, you have to go through this strenuous treatment, going from basketball, baseball, maybe football, or just these aspirations you have. Like, what was that the emotional effects on you, being so young and having cancer?
Yeah, I mean it was hard because like I said, as soon as I got diagnosed and as soon as I was in the hospital and then getting sick, like I thought any day I was gonna die.
Yeah.
So death was like always on my mind and I just couldn't not think about it. So anytime we would drive to the hospital or drive home, I would see somebody pumping gas and be like, I'm never going to be able to do that because I've
Wow.
got cancer. Or so I was in a big fearful like state. And then I had people like I didn't know, like from around town or whatever, from different churches coming to pray for me.
Yeah.
But at the time, like we didn't grow up in the church, and so we didn't go
Okay.
to church. And so when people would come pray for me, I thought that, all right, I'm gonna die now for sure because they're praying for me. So I took it as a bad thing, like, oh, they're praying for
Right.
me, I must be dying.
When
And
they're
then I
just trying to
remember,
have the angels cover you, like,
yeah,
well, dang.
of course now I understand it, but it's like I didn't know any different. That's all I didn't know because I didn't grow
Yeah.
up in it. But so I was very scared, but the one thing that was kind of helping me get through it in a sense was I just wanted to get back to playing
Yeah.
sports. That was kind of my outlet, and it still
Yeah.
is to this day. To where even if I'm shooting by myself, it's just I don't think I can. It's kind of that fate or fog again, where everything around me is just blurry.
Yeah.
If I'm on the field, if I'm on the court, everything around me is just I don't see anything. I just kind of in my own space, and
Yeah.
it's a big therapy thing for me, or it
No,
turned into be a big therapy thing for me. So
absolutely.
that was kind of my one thing I was always looking at is, all right, I'm going to go back and play. I'm going to prove that
Yeah.
I can do this again. I'm not this sick cancer kid or whatever. Not that anything's wrong with that, but I just knew like there was something in me that was like, don't give this up in a sense.
Yeah. See, that was that resilience in you. And, we all have to find our therapy, whether it's
Yeah.
sports. I like to ride. I bought a bike, that's my therapy. And it's that time
Okay.
where we zone out.
Yeah.
So when did you have to, talk to us about, like, I know that you had to, get amputated, like
Yeah.
what caused that? Was it the chemo? Like, how did we get to that? How did you have to get to that point?
Yeah, so about 2 months into my chemo treatment, they kept testing the tumor in my leg. And so it was getting smaller, but it was still there. And so the kind that I had, the osteo, it's kind of known for metastasizing. So it could spread to different areas of the body. Yeah. And they were really worried about it spreading to my lungs, because once it goes to your lungs, it's pretty hard to treat.
Yeah.
So I had the main one right on my kneecap, pretty much my patella. And then 2 months into treatment, it was getting smaller, but it was spreading. Oh, wow. So now I had 2 more spots on top of my knee. And so with it getting smaller, that's good, but it's still spreading. So they got to do surgery pretty quick. And so I remember my doctor, he was really cool. He was a younger guy, but I remember him, it was one of my checkups for my blood count and all that stuff. And he's like, we need to have a talk, is what he kind of said. So he's like, I usually don't do this. He said, but you're a young kid, you're active. And he's like, I kind of want you to have a say in this decision. He said, but there's 2 ways we can go with the surgery. He's like, we need to do surgery really quick, but I want you to kind of have a say in this. Yeah. So the first option was limb salvage surgery, which basically they would have taken all the bones out of my leg, femur, tibia, all that stuff, and replaced it with metal rods. It would save my leg, but I would have to have more surgeries down the road. When I grow, they would have to lengthen the rod inside my leg. If I broke it, if it got infected, that's a whole nother issue. And then they said it would limit me. It would limit me on my activity level. So like no contact sports, running would kind of be out of the question. The older I got, it would be harder for me to like lift things. So I'm like, all right, well, this doesn't sound like me. So what's the other option? in my mind, I'm thinking that, but I'm not saying that. So I'm like, well, what's the other option? And he said, the other option is amputation, which I never heard that word before. So I was like, well, what is that?
And how old were you when you were having this conversation?
14. And so he said, basically, we would go above where your tumor's at. We would cut your leg off, sew you back up. And then he's like, you can jump out of a plane the next day if you want to. Like, your activity level is up to you, basically. It's in your hands, how active you want to be. So at that moment, I was looking at it as, all right, it's either my life or my leg, because I was scared if they go in there and cut the tumor out, cut the bones out with the limb salvage, they may leave a small piece. People are human, make mistakes. Yeah. They may leave a small piece and then it's going to go, and then I would regret not doing the other surgery. So I was looking at it as my life or my leg, and then sports and no sports. So at that moment, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't say anything because my mom was in the room and I could tell she was having a hard time with this. Yeah. So I remember we go home, very quiet ride home. We're not talking about what happened. And then she finally says, well, what do you think you want to do? And I was like, well, what do you think I should do? So we kind of go back and forth. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'll write what I want to do, and you write what you think I should do. And we'll talk about it, once we reveal what we're thinking. So I turned mine over and it says amputate or cut my leg off. And then hers was save your leg. So hers was, my parents actually wanted me to save my leg. Wow. So of course she's crying, I'm crying, but I just had this peace about me that I was like, I'm okay with this. Like, I would rather be here with one leg or no legs than to not be here, because I'm trying to save something that's not savable in my eyes. So once they kind of knew I was confident and I was cool with this, and I was like, let's go do this tomorrow. Like, let's do this. They were like, all right, we'll do this. So
Scott, I'm sorry, man. Your story is amazing. I'm sorry. But like, that's a huge, at 14, you have to decide if I have to cut your leg off. And like, it's, you already kind of knew in the back of your mind that I'm going to live life. I'm going to continue. And with one leg or not, I just think that's amazing. And because we think about what 14-year-olds think about, right? They're not thinking about these heavy topics, they're thinking about now Instagram, girls, just playing, and you're already preparing for what is to come. And you're so fearless. So I commend you. I commend you for being able to be fearless and not scared, of what's to come.
I was scared. I was scared, trust me. I was, like I said, I was so scared of dying. Like I thought like this is what I gotta do, like to live. And so we told the doctors, like, all right, I want to amputate. And they were like, all right, let's do one more MRI just to make sure we know where everything's at. So they did the MRI. Well, there's 2 more spots that are on top of my hip.
What?
So now there's one on my knee, one on top of my knee, and then 2 more on top of my hip. And they're like, you have no choice. Like, we have to take your whole leg. We have to cut pretty much all the way up to your hip off. So walking is going to be extremely difficult. Running is out of the question. And so we just break down in the room crying, like, you're just getting bad news after bad news after bad news. You're just like, oh my gosh. And they're like, well, let's do a biopsy just to make sure that's what it is. So I remember the very next day, they take me back for the biopsy. They put me under, I wake up and I'm in the recovery room, and my mom, I think my dad they were over me crying, or my mom was crying. My dad was out of the room, and you'll figure out why he's out of the room. But so my mom was crying over me. And of course, when she's crying, I know it's bad news. So I'm like, more cancer. And she's like, they never did the biopsy. And I mean, I don't know how close I was to losing my whole leg, which it would be a very much more difficult life for me. But I couldn't be mad. I was just thankful, like, thank God it's not cancer.
That was
like,
God. That was your angel.
That was all him. Yeah.
That was your angel.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, my dad, on the other hand, he was wanting to find somebody to like hurt, because he was like, we've already been through so much. Who like he was wanting somebody.
He's about to kill somebody. That's what was going to happen.
Which is understandable too. But I think me and my mom were it was finally one sense of relief, like, finally no cancer.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, you can wait 2 weeks, like take a breather. And I was like, no, just cut it off. Like, let's just get this over with. Let's just go before it spreads. So I was blessed.
Yeah. So after the amputation, did you have to continue to get chemo, or that was it?
Yeah, I had to do about 6 or 8 more months of chemo.
Okay.
Which was the harder part. It was really hard just because in my mind, like, and then my leg's gone, the tumor's gone. So I'm like, why am I still doing chemo? Why? I feel worse. I'm so sick. But they called it like a cleanup crew. It's the protocol. And so just in case there's like a very tiny spot that they can't pick up on an MRI, it just cleans it out, kills it, which thankfully I did the protocol because, I've never had a recurrence come. So I'm very thankful and blessed for that.
Absolutely. So. No, I mean, that's the part that sucks. I mean, I had to do it too, where they were like, well, you've reached this point. We still need you to kind of just finish out. And so I'm grateful for that. So let's fast forward. Do you go to college afterwards? Like, how did you get used to, your new way of walking?
Yeah, it took me a long time to learn how to walk, months to learn how to walk. So I did a lot of therapy, a lot of outpatient therapy, a lot of practice at home. But it took me months to learn how to walk without like a cane or a walker.
Okay.
And then to learn how to run was probably years. It took me years to learn how to run the way I do now. So I had to put a lot of work into it just to get to where that at. But I think everything I went through, and then working so hard on my prosthesis, like I didn't really have a social life to begin with, because you probably picked up on this, but I'm very quiet. I'm very shy, very timid.
So you get on the court with them, and then that's a problem.
So like, even when I went back to high school, like it was like baseball. I went back to play baseball, but if I didn't go back and play baseball, like I didn't like high school, because I felt very alone by myself and different. And so it was very hard to socialize, but it was a big adjustment, because I cut my leg off to get back to sports, but then high school's over. So it's like, all right, like, what am I going to do now? Because I cut my leg off. To save my life, but I want to be active. And then just knowing that people were looking at me based off my leg, thinking, oh, he can't run or do this. So it was hard, because my dream obviously was to go play college and pro and all that stuff. And it finally hit me when I graduated high school that, that's not going to happen. That's not a reality for me.
So what did you do next? You're not going to be able to play pro. What was the next steps as you go into adulthood?
So I had a big depression after that, because I felt really lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know school-wise what I wanted to do. Nothing interests me. I I just wanted to hoop or play ball.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. And since that wasn't really an outlet for me, there was a prosthetic company that heard about me, that I was this active young kid. So they're always trying to recruit people for the Paralympics, which I'm sure you've heard of it. Yeah. But I was never a track and field guy. I don't want to just run. I need to have a ball or something. I need to have an objective. So, but I said, I'll hear it. I'll try it out, because I thought this was going to be my only outlet to basically do this.
Right.
So I went to Oklahoma City, met with the guys. They put me on one of the running legs, the cheetah looking legs, Tink legs. They put me on one of those. So I was running on it, but it just felt weird. But they're like, just train on it. You know, they signed me to this 4-year contract. I was like, you've never really seen me compete, but you want to sign. It just felt very weird.
Yeah.
So I remember going back home, trying to train on my own and all this, and my heart just was not into it at all.
Right.
So I hit them back up. I'm like, hey man, like, I know we had this agreement, but I was like, I feel bad like doing something when my heart's not into it. I said, this is all new to me. I said, I want to hoop and I want to play ball. I want to do this. And they told me, no amputee would ever play stand-up basketball because it's too hard.
Yeah.
And there's not enough to do this. So I kind of took that really personal at the time. And I was 18, so I was, a kid, but I took it very personal. So I was like, okay, well, you can have your running leg back. You can have all this stuff back. I'm going to try to do what I feel, I'm called to do. So for about 4 to 6 years, I was trying to get interest in people playing stand-up basketball, amputees.
Nice.
Nobody would ever take me seriously. Nobody wanted to have the conversation with me. So I was like, all right, if people aren't hearing me out, maybe I need to do something else. So I remember staying after work really late, multiple times, making this flyer, like stand-up basketball, contact me. I have this idea. I made like over 1,000 flyers, and I mailed them out all over the country to like Oprah, Mark Cuban, the NBA, like all the big people I could think of. They're like, hey, maybe somebody will think of this or see interest in this.
Yeah.
I didn't get any callbacks. I didn't get any emails. I only got one back, and it was from a marketing guy in the NBA. And he said, hey, I got your flyer. Have you ever thought about just playing in wheelchair basketball? And I was just like, dude, bro, I want to play stand-up. Like, I don't want to sit in the wheelchair.
Yeah, right.
That's like, I have nothing against wheelchair basketball. I was like, but to me, like, I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to run again.
Yeah.
Like, I busted my butt to do this. Why would I just go sit in a chair when I can run and play? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And I was hooping with my friends here. So I was like, I know I'm not the only one that can do it. So I was like, all right, I'll do the next thing. So I did a little video in my backyard. I set like this little camcorder in my parents' backyard. The video's still on YouTube, I think, but it was just me hooping by myself in my parents' backyard.
Yeah.
And as soon as I uploaded that, I was getting messages from amputees all over the country. Like, say, hey, bro, like, I've been wanting to do this. I've been waiting for something like this. So I was like, all right, like, I had about 5 or 6 guys like in New York, Utah, Cali, Texas. So I was like, let's just do our own thing. Let's just like forget everybody. Let's just do this. So we were talking for about a month, like through the phone, or MySpace at the time was big or whatever.
Oh, MySpace, me.
Throwing back, So we were kind of tired of talking. I was like, let's try to meet up. I know we're all over the country, but so I drove from Texas all the way to Cali. It was about 22 hours just to meet up with like 4 other amputees just to hoop on a weekend. And when we went there, I was like, hey, let's contact the local news, see if they want to do a story on it, try to get the word out. The news came out, they did a story on us, like, hey, we're trying to do this. Nobody thinks we can do this. We're just trying to prove like, hey, we're ballers. We're not these disabled. So we're kind of getting some traction. It was pretty cool. And then, so we called it AMP One basketball, kind of on words on play with the and one at the time. The and one was hot. But we were kind of going all over the country on our own. Like,
now, did you have a nickname?
Well, so I didn't like the nickname, but one of the guys kept calling me the chosen one because I was the one that kind of started the idea of all this. But I'm not a LeBron fan, and I know he's a chosen. So I was like, I'm not down with that. But anyway, we were going to play like 3-on-3 tournaments here and there. And then a prosthetic company actually picked us up as a little sponsor. So they were helping us go to these places to play. Absolutely. And then we would go to schools to play and just basically talk about, you know, never giving up, like a positive message. So it was really cool, but I didn't really know where it was going.
Absolutely.
Like, I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm doing this, but like, I just I had this tug at my heart, like, all right, there's more behind this.
A little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this really helping people? Like, is this just really showing what we can do? Had a big conflict with that. And so it wasn't until I got asked to go play in a pro game up in Michigan. I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was playing a prank on me, but there's a guy up in New York, shout out Peter Robert Casey. He's been like a huge supporter of everything I've been doing. We've never met in person, but he's always supported everything I've done. He's really big in the basketball world. Like he knows everybody. So like all the like articles I've been in, like ESPN, Dime Magazine, Slam, all that stuff. He's hooked me up with all that. So he's been a big supporter. Dope. But he knew this guy that was like gonna do like a sports agency or something like that. So he got me in contact with him and we kind of talked for a while and he was trying to get me some stuff. But he was actually he knew the owner of one of these pro teams. So you have like the NBA, then you have like the G League, then you have these independent pro leagues kind of all over the country. So him and this coach up in Michigan called me on my phone late at night during the week. And he was like, hey, I watched your videos. I've heard a lot about you. I want to see if you would sign a one-day contract to come play with us.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know, I'm short, I'm white, I got one leg. Like, I know I'm not that good to be playing with these guys. And he's like, no, like, just come play. Like, it'll be great. It'll be good. So I said, I had to really think about it because, again, that's just been my mentality is like, I'm just not at that level. But the more people were talking to me about it, like, it's not really like me going out there proving I could score 20 or a triple double. It's just going out there showing I can at least play or hang with these guys being an amputee. So I went to this game and this was kind of the turning point for me when I went to this game that I remember it was in an old gym in Michigan. It was a very old gym. It was very cool looking, but above the gym or above one of the goals was Jesus on a cross. I've played at tons of gyms all over the country. This was the first gym. I've even played at gyms in churches. And this was a school gym that had Jesus on it. And for some reason, I was just like focused on him. They let me go in there the day before and shoot around because that's just my calm down. Because I was really nervous about the game. So I just remember shooting around. I was like, man, I shouldn't be here. Like, I'm not that good. Like, I met the guys before. They're trying to go play professional overseas. Some have played college ball. All these dudes are like 6'7". I'm barely 6 foot. So I'm like, there's no way I should be here. But I kept focusing on him. And I was just like, all right, I'm here for a reason. Like, I'm here. I don't know what it is.
Absolutely.
So the game went on. They started me. I didn't want to be started, but I was like, we'll just roll with it.
Yeah.
Because it was their last game of the season. That was another thing I told them. I was like, I don't want to go on a team and y'all are like fighting for a spot in the playoffs. Or it's like, I'm not trying to ruin all that for them. But everybody was cool with it. So the first half, I didn't do good at all. Like, I remember my first shot, my heel was on the line. I was out of bounds when I shot my 3-pointer. I was just so nervous. And and then in halftime, I have to go in the bathroom, take my leg off because when it gets really sweaty, I just don't have very good control of my prosthesis.
Okay.
And so I remember one of my guys that came with me on the trip, one of my boys, he went in there with me and he's like, man, just chill. Like, you're here. Like, just have fun. Like, who cares? Who cares what these people think? Like, just go out and do your thing. And so I ended up hitting a few shots. It felt good, but I was just like, all right, I'm just ready for this game to be over.
Absolutely.
Like, this isn't me. So after the game was over, like, I was just sitting there thinking, like, it hit me like, all right, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm not supposed to be showing people I'm this good basketball player, good athlete as an amputee. And I remember this little bitty kid coming up to me. He was probably 2 or 3. He had this basketball, and he said his mom, he said he couldn't keep his eyes off you the whole game. Like, he just wanted to meet you so bad. So I remember I was just talking with this little kid for like 5-10 minutes. Everybody else was trying to talk to me, but I was like focused on this kid because I was like, it was kind of showing me like, all right, I need to do stuff with kids because I feel like I make a bigger impact with kids and I can't just showing somebody like that doesn't think I can do something, like it means nothing. Like if you don't think I can do something, that's fine. But like if I can make a positive impact on a kid, let me do that. So a few weeks after that trip, I told the guys like, hey, I'm gonna go this route. Like y'all can have AMP1. I'm good. Like nothing against y'all. Like I think it's great there because they wanted the whole thing with AMP1 is to create like a league, competitive league. I was just kind of done with the competitiveness. I wanted to like help kids and give back. So I was like, I'm gonna bounce. I'll give everything over. Like I have nothing to do, you know, negatively with that. But I was just like, I just want to go this route. Some people accepted it. Some people didn't like it so much, which is what it is. So,
but what was that vision that you had?
So my vision was I wanted to help kids that went through basically what I kind of went through, whether it be cancer or limb loss or anything like that. And then, you know, pretty good as anybody, not just with the hope and all that, but the financial burden is ungodly. Like it's crazy. Like my dad finally told me like we were over $1 million medical debt. He was like, I just can't pay it. Like, what do they expect? Like, you just can't pay that stuff. So I was like, all right, well, so let me use, so God's on, and this was around the time too, where I was coming into my faith because I was playing ball at this church, this small church, very small church with this group of guys that I was kind of cool with.
Yeah.
And then when we would play, they would kind of break, you know, an hour into playing and say, hey, we're going to do a devotional. I was like, what's a devotional? Why can't we just keep hooping? Like, what's going on?
And so, blocking your blessings, brother.
I know. So I would listen to the devotional and, you know, we would meet every Thursday and it was kind of, it was feeding into me, you know, it was planting that seed and it was growing. And so doing that. And then when I go with this pro game, I'm like, all right, I think he's telling me like, you know, I gave you this gift. I gave you the ability to play ball as an amputee. I gave you the ability to do this. Don't do it for yourself, but do it for other people. And
God
do it,
is,
you know, for his glory.
The spirit is growing. That's amazing. Look, when you started off, the faith wasn't there like that. And now,
for sure, And so when I left, like I said, a few people were cool with it, but most people, they just, I mean, we wouldn't have to get into all that, but it just wasn't friends you thought were friends. It was just like, all right.
Oh yeah, if that's
how you feel, that's cool. But I feel led to go do this. And there was one guy that believed in what I was doing, and he left and went with me. And then we curated what's ABI. It's a nonprofit we started, and basically we put on charity benefit games for kids that have cancer or limb loss. And so we've done about 13 events for kids and their families.
Wow,
so each event is specifically for a specific kid, and then all the money we raise, everything we raise at the event online all weekend, all week, it goes to that family. So I think we've done like 13 and we've raised like over 40,000 for these families to give to them, which is, I mean, honestly, it's a very small amount compared to the medical burden that these families have. But while we're doing these events, we're trying to spread hope and love to them. Like, you know, we've been in your shoes. We know what you're going through. We're always a support system for them. So even though we do these events for these kids, some of them even come back and play with us, or we try to keep in contact with them. It's just kind of another family connection that we try to have with them, just to be like, you know, hold on to the hope and just kind of be a supportive group for the kids and their families as well. So,
man, that's beautiful. ABI and positive deposits. We need to do something.
I would love to, man. I know we talked about it before. But
we did. And we're gonna put it into play. We're gonna give it to God and put it into play. But that's amazing, you know, because like you said, the financial burden, especially if you don't have insurance, is huge.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, if I didn't have insurance, like just a week in the hospital was over like maybe like an eighth of $1 million, you know? Yeah. And so now that's a blessing, man. It's that you went through this journey, you changed your love for sports and brought it to a good cause. And so shout out to ABI. Like, I mean, I think that's amazing. And please don't even lose hope on that. And so it's one of those things that I'm blessed to meet you, man. Like in 2016, as we walked in that room, and we walked in and I didn't know what to expect. And, you know, you were quiet, but we had our conversations, and I think I'm glad that, you know, you did, you know, show me some no look passes, and I had a couple points, but your 3-pointer was wet, man. And so I'm glad that we had that experience. And I never look back at that as like, it's just so memorable. You know, people still don't believe that, you know, we were at the Final Four. We played on the court. Like they were like, what? You were a Harvard hero?
It's crazy, yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And so, you know, thank you for sharing, man. And you made this a lot easier for me. Usually I have to ask questions, but every question I was about to ask you, you just kind of rolled right into what I wanted to share with the world. And so we always ask our guests, you know, to share at least 3 positive deposits. You know, we're here to transform minds, to change lives. And so for anyone that's listening that may be going through bone cancer or just cancer in general, what are 3 positive deposits that you would love to share with the world as they hear your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of them would definitely be hope. You know, you got to have hope, because you feel like, especially going through cancer or anything, a bad situation, whatever it may be, we all go through our situations. For us, it's cancer. For somebody else, it could be something totally different. But you feel like everything's taken away from you. You have no control of your life. But the one thing you do have control over is hope. You can hold on to that hope, and who you put your hope in is what matters too. You know, not looking to put your hope in other people or acceptance for other people, but like, all right, I'm in this situation. I'm not alone because he's there with me. So if I have hope and trust in him, I'll be all right. It'll work out. Even though it may be very dark and hard at that time, just know that it doesn't rain every day. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and a good day is going to come. So hope. And then I think that kind of goes along with faith. Just having the faith that he can do anything, like nothing's impossible. Like I was told for so many years I would never be able to play basketball, do this, do that. I couldn't tell you how many times I was told that. And even when I still go out, people look at me differently just because of the way I look, which, you know, it is what it is. Yep. And I know we both kind of maybe share that in a little sense just because of whatever, but it's at the end of the day, you know, you got to have that confidence in yourself and have that faith. Like, you know, if you have that faith in yourself that I'm not going to let anything stop me, and you know, he's going to give me that strength to do this. I mean, the sky's the limit. You know, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The last one I think would be trust. And I wrote a kid's book a few years ago, and I put the message in there, and the message has to do with trust. And so the book's titled Me and JC. JC is short for Jesus Christ. And so basically, so people always ask me, like, how do you walk so well? Like, how do you run? Like, because especially a new amputee, when you're a new amputee, you can't even take 2 steps because you have this fear of falling. And it's just, I don't think I even thought that when I first put it on, I was like, man, did I make the right decision? So I always get asked that question. And so when I was writing this book, I was like, I don't want to just share my story, but I want to try to have a message behind it. And so it just kind of hit me when I was driving one day. So every morning, so people always ask me too, like, do you shower with your leg on? Do you go to sleep with it? Or I get all these weird questions from these kids. Which is cool. So I do take it off when I shower, and I do take it off when I sleep. And so every morning I wake up, my leg is right there beside my bed, next to my nightstand. It's right there. And so when I wake up, I have a choice. I don't have to wear my leg. I can choose not to wear my leg. I can choose to sit in bed, feel sorry for myself. I can choose a different route than what I'm choosing. Or I can choose to put this leg on and know that I'm putting it on, and I'm going to be committed at the beginning, one, to learning how this works, being committed to like, all right, I'm going to put in the work to do this, do that. And so when I'm learning how to work on my prosthesis, it's trust comes into play. Absolutely. When I first put it on, it felt like this hunk of metal or whatever was attached to me. It felt foreign to me. It didn't feel a part of me at all. So as I'm learning how to use this prosthesis, I'm having to put some trust in it, because if the way it works, when I put weight on the toe and I move my weight forward, that's when my knee bends. And so I have to know that it's doing that. And then when I swing my leg out, I have to make sure my heel is flat, and that keeps my knee locked. That way it's safe for me to walk over. So it's a whole process for me to learn. And the only way I'm going to learn that is just like me learning my jump shot. It's repetition, practice. Where like my jump shot, or even walking out, like I could do it blindfolded and
Yeah.
I can walk fine. So going along with learning how to trust this leg is I had to build a relationship with it. So like I no longer see this leg as something that I have to put on. This leg is who I am. It's a part of me. It makes me who I am. And so
Absolutely.
I think with the trust and the relationship, I think the same can be said for our relationship with Christ. Every day we have a choice.
Bring it home. Bring it home.
Every day we have a choice. You know,
Yes.
we can be mad at the world. We can try to do things our own. We can pick out the negative. We can do all this stuff. Or we can say, all right, God, I know you're with me. Like, I'm going to follow you wherever you may lead me. Let's do this. And so just how my leg is leading me to learn how to walk.
Yeah.
I'm putting my faith and trust in God. Like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how rocky it's going to be. It may be good some days, maybe bad some days, but I trust you to know that you have me in this position for whatever reason, and good or bad, I know that you're going to get me out of it and everything's going to be okay for your glory and not for mine, basically. So I think the same goes the same. So when people ask me how I learn how to walk and run, it's that relationship and trust. The same thing, how you grow with Christ is that relationship and trust.
Man, that was so profound. And I love how it all tied in. Hope, faith, and trust in the Lord. And he'll order all your steps. And you trust in the process. So, man, this was a treat, but it was a pleasure, great pleasure. You know, my brother from a different mother, different color. But if folks want to reach out to you, you know, support, you know, your book, or just follow you, or just, you know, contact you, can we reach you on social media? Like, what are your handles, or so we know how we can get in contact?
Yeah, so Facebook is just my name, Scott Odom. And then on Instagram, it's Scott Odom _HGA.
Okay.
That's my Instagram. And same thing with my Twitter and stuff. And then on my website, where all that stuff's on there, is scottaodom.com. And then as far as my nonprofit, it's ABI Basketball, or abisports.org is our website.
Well, you heard it right there, abisportsbasketball.org. We can reach you on Instagram. And so I thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's an honor and a pleasure, an honor and privilege, to be on. So like, you can catch this episode on all of our streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And of course, you can tune in and see this live interview on our website, www.positivedeposits.org. And of course, whether it's ABI Sports Basketball or positivedeposits.org, every little bit helps. So definitely, you know, hit that donation button. And so once again, thank you so much, Scott. And we have definitely transformed minds to change lives. And with that, we're signing off.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
Anytime.